Imagine stepping into a room where every glance tells you you're not supposed to be there, where whispers feel like darts, and someone just made sure you'd start from behind. But then, you walk out, holding the trophy. This isn't a scene from a drama, it's a real story, inspired by how one girl from East Houston shattered expectations at one of the most elite universities in the country. She didn't just compete, she exposed the truth and changed the rules of who gets to belong. Stay with us till the end, because the way she flipped everything will leave you speechless. And hey, have you ever felt out of place, like the world wasn't built for you? Tell us your story in the comments, and let us know where you're watching from. Now imagine this, a cold lecture hall, dozens of top debaters from across the country, and then that voice. Who let you in here? Sharp, mocking, loud enough to silence the room. It came from Nathan Ashford, Yale's debate golden boy, tall, polished, every inch the Ivy League fantasy, a fitted blazer, slick smile, and eyes locked on the girl, standing near the back. She didn't flinch. A national debate championship had brought the best students to Connecticut, sons and daughters of lawyers, diplomats, CEOs, from private academies in New York and prep schools in California. And then there was Jada Monroe, 17, East Houston. Her sneakers were worn, her jacket thrifted, and her voice a slow, rich southern tone you couldn't ignore, even if you wanted to. As she held her notebook tight, murmurs sliced through the air. Is she even on the list? Did someone mess up admissions? I thought this was invite only. She heard every word, but she didn't look away from the stage, where the event coordinator, Professor Lillian Graves, was reviewing the speaker schedule. Known for her brutal feedback and impossible standards, Professor Graves scanned the crowd. Her eyes paused on Jada, just long enough to notice the difference. Day one was for intros and practice rounds. Students huddled up, sharing credentials, resumes passed around like medals from old wars. Jada stayed by the window, fingering the edges of her debate journal. Every page handwritten speeches, rebuttals, late-night strategies, crafted side by side with her mum after double shifts at the 24-hour diner. She could hear her mum now. You don't need to outdress them, baby, just outthink them. And then, Nathan's voice rang out again. Asterisk, hey, Professor, are we letting in community volunteers this year? Nathan's voice sliced through the air. Dripping sarcasm. Laughter followed. His friends chuckling on. Jada took a slow breath, trying to stop the heat rising to her cheeks. But before she could respond, Professor Graves cut in. That's enough, Mr. Ashford. Silence swept the room. A few students glanced around, some raising their brows. Nathan gave a mocking bow, pretending to be scolded, but the sting had landed. Jada's face burned, yet she stood tall. Later that day, in the main hall, Professor Graves presented the first debate topic for the elimination round. Resolved, the role of socioeconomic background in college admission should be minimized. Jada's heart pounded. How could it not feel personal? She wasn't just arguing a theory. She was defending her place. In that very room, students gathered in study groups afterward, forming alliances, comparing strategies. No one called Jada over. She found a quiet corner in the library, flipped open her dented laptop, and got 2 work court rulings. College admissions data. The long, messy history of privilege at elite schools. She devoured it. All her phone lit up. A message from Mom. You got this. JADA. Make them hear you. Jada smiled softly, closed the text, and dove back in. Somewhere inside, a fire took hold. A quiet defiance turning into steel. Morning came. Cold gray skies hung over the university. The debate chamber felt more like a courtroom than archers above, mahogany benches below, and an audience that includes students, professors, and even reporters covering the event. Jada stood near the side entrance, watching the crowd fill in. Her name dead last on the speaker list. She knew what that meant. An afterthought, the kind of slot they give it to people they expect to forget. She tied her ponytail tighter, fixed the collar of her thrifted blazer, and walked in. Ashford went first. Naturally, he stepped onto the stage like he owned the building. Confident tone, perfect articulation, his words dressed in statistics and charm, each pause designed for applause, each argument sharp and calculated. The judges smiled as they scribbled notes one by one. The next speakers followed, polished, composed, voices honed by years on the national circuit. Jada listened to everyone, analyzing weak points, silent critiques forming in her mind. But with each speech, the pressure inside her built, and her name echoed through the chamber. Next speaker, Jada Monroe, representing Southeast Houston Regional. A beat of silence echoed sharp, thick with judgment and disbelief. Asterisk. Jada rose slowly, each step toward the podium heavier than the last. She walked past rows of students whispering behind cupped hands. Some smirked, others just watched, waiting for her to falter. Professor Graves sat at the judges' table, her gaze locked, expression unreadable. Jada set her notebook down, her fingers trembling just barely. She adjusted the mic, took a breath, and began. Her voice was soft, but intentional. Before I start, I want to thank this university for the invitation, even if some people here think I don't belong. Gasps, a few nervous laughs. But she didn't pause. She leaned into her words. delivering each line with steady conviction. She didn't have the polished showmanship that Nathan wielded like a sword, but she had something else: truth. She spoke about broken school systems, where even air conditioning was a luxury and debate teams were unheard of. She cited court cases, data from education research, studies on economic mobility. Then, without warning, her tone shifted. She locked eyes with Nathan. Some of us weren't born with admission letters waiting in the mailbox. Some of us had to earn a very single invitation, including this one. No claps, just silence, a silence that leaned in. She ended with this: minimizing the weight of socioeconomic background isn't about handouts, it's about fairness, about potential, about making Sarethi next Jada Munro have to Pravesh belongs at a table she already earned a seat at. Not once did her voice shock. She stepped down, shoulders straight, eyes ahead. For a moment, the room held its breath, then applause scattered, but sincere. Nathan smirked as she passed. Cute speech, he muttered. Let's see if it matters. Jada didn't respond. She walked past, head high, because something had changed, and she felt it later that afternoon. The score sheet was posted outside the debate hall. Jada approached slowly, heart pounding. 16 names would move on. Every line on the list felt like a wall to climb. Her eyes darted, searching. Then there it was: Jada Munro, ranked 12, just above the cutoff. She exhaled a breath of relief, blended with adrenaline. Not at the top, but not erased. She had made it through. Behind her, that familiar voice rang out, well, look at that, Nathan said, flanked by two of his friends. Miracles really do happen. Jada didn't turn around. She didn't need to asterisk. As Jada walked away, more whispers trailed behind her. Who is she again? She's from some public school in Louisiana. Must be a diversity pick. No way she scored higher than Alex or Priya. Jada felt the knot tighten in her stomach, but she didn't slow down that evening. In her tiny dorm room set aside for our Tove State students, she spread her research notes across the blankety. New email came in. Next round's topic: resolved affirmative action policies do more harm than good. The irony hit like a slap. They wanted her to deboat very policy. They believe it was the only reason she was even there. For a moment, she stared at her laptop, frozen. The doubts crept in. What if they were right? What if it really was just a checkbox? What if her next speech was her last? Her phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Remember, baby, you've never needed anyone's permission to be great. Jada exhaled, smiled faintly, then opened 12 browser tabs. Court decisions, data on student outcomes, first-hand stories from kids like her fighting the same fight. But she didn't stop there. She outlined arguments for both sides. If they were setting a trap, she'd know every way out. Next day, the debate hall felt even colder once again. Nathan Ashford went before her, his grin wider than ever. He delivered a performance full of precision, cherry-picked stats laced with just enough sarcasm. We should admit students based on merit, he said, turning toward Jada's section, not on sympathy or social engineering. The audience chuckled. The judges nodded. More notes were scribbled, and Jada's name echoed through the hall. She stood, walked slowly to the front, and began, her voice calm and shaken. This conversation isn't about lowering standards, she said, locking eyes with the crowd. It's about recognizing that the playing field hasn't been level for a very long time. Then she dove in. Historical stats, legacy, admissions, percentage of students from families in the top 1% income bracket. She pointed out the invisible head starts, private tutors, elite prep schools, parents who knew how to work the system, their kids could even spell hat. The room shifted. Some jaws clenched, ties darted around, and Nathan's smirk, not quite so confident anymore. Jada closed with a steady fire burning just beneath the surface. Leveling the playing field isn't about handing out free passes, Jada said, her voice calm, clear. It's about making Sarethi next generation of thinkers, leaders, and visionaries. Doesn't look exactly like the last. She ended with stillness, no dramatic flourish, just truth this time. Applause came quicker, louder, not overwhelming, but it couldn't be ignored. Professor Graves watched her as she returned to her seat, and for the first time, her expression changed. No longer indifferent, but recognizing. The next morning, Jada saw her Namian, the quarterfinal bracket, ranked number 7, higher than anyone expected. Nath still holding the top spot, but something felt wrong. On her way to the dining hall, she spotted 2 students from Nathan's debate circle huddled by the bulletin board, snickering as they looked in her direction as she passed. One of them muttered, just loud enough, "Let's see how she handles tomorrow's topic." Her stomach twisted. That night, while working in her room, an email arrived. Subject line: **** revised topic assignment. Urgent ***, sent from debate.committee@admirale.edu. Looked official enough. It said her topic had changed due to scheduling conflict. She was to argue a new resolution. ***, resolved. The American education system rewards conformity over creativity. ***. Failure to comply will result in disqualification. Panic struck. She scrolled through the original schedule. No updates, no official changes, no word from anyone else. Still, with less than 10 hours, he couldn't risk it. She pushed aside her previous prep and started over, researching, rewriting, rehearsing. By 2 a.m., her eyes were burning. Her speech was done. She fell asleep, laptop still open, notes still in hand. The next morning, she clutched those notes, walking into the debate hall. Her pulse raced at the check-in table. Professor Graves called her out. "Miss Monroe, where have you been?" Her voice sharp, tense. Jada blinked, startled. I was preparing for the topic change. She said the email said. Graves cut her off, brows furrowing. What email? Jada opened her phone, showed the message. Graves' expression darkened. This isn't from us, she said flatly. This is fake. Jada's heart dropped, hands shaking. Who would do this? Graves didn't let her finish. You were expected to prepare for the assigned topic. Resolved technology has eroded authentic human communication. Your round starts in 5 minutes. Jada felt the floor give beneath her. No prep, no research, no outline, just 5 minutes across the room. Nathan stood watching, smirking. He tilted his head, slightly mouthed one word. Oops. Jada's throat tightened. She had two choices: walk out or walk up. Then her mother's voice rose in her mind, confused, uncheckable. You didn't come this far twofold. Now her mother's voice rang loud in her head. Jada stood up, hands shaking, but her spine held straight. She grabbed a blank notepad and pen, rushed to an empty corner, and started scribbling furiously. Technology, communication, authenticity eroded. Okay, she could work with this. When her name was called, her heart thundered. She walked to the podium, barely hearing anything but the beat in her chest. She closed her eyes for 1 second and held. Spoke at first. Her voice trembled, but as the words came, so did the strength. She spoke of home, how social media twisted friendships, how screen time replaced real talk, how even here students chased streaks instead of meaning. This wasn't her most polished speech, but it was raw, it was real, and by the end, it was powerful. As she stepped down, Nathan's smile flickered off. Rose. Graves didn't clap, but her gaze stayed on Jadalinger than ever before that night. Back in her room, Jada stared at her phone. No new emails, no threats, but she knew this wasn't over. Someone was playing games, and she'd just proved she knew how to play too. The next morning, Jada sat on the stone steps outside the debate hall, a warm vending machine coffee in her hand, cold air biting at her cheeks, but her thoughts were burning. Who had sent that fake email, and why had no one addressed it? Then her phone buzzed to notification. Quarterfinal results posted. She walked briskly to the bulletin board, heart pounding. Jada Monroe rank 5 advancing to semifinals. A soft gasp escaped her lips. Made it even after the sabotage. A few heads turned. Nathan stood nearby, his jaw clenched just slightly. That afternoon, in the library, Jada reviewed her notes. When a shadow stretched across her desks, she looked up. Professor Graves. Miss Monroe, she said quietly, I'd like a word. Privately, they walked to Graves' small office, walls lined with trophies, framed photos of past champions. Graves motioned for her to sit. I looked into that email, she began. It was spoofed. The sender masked their identity. Looked like it came from us. Jada swallowed hard. Do you know who did it? Graves narrowed her eyes. Not yet, but I've notified the administration for now. Keep your head down. Jada clenched, her fists slightly jaw tight. I don't want to keep my head down. Professor, someone tried to sabotage me. Graves leaned back, unreadable. I admire your fire, she said, but this place, it eats the reckless alive. A long pause, then Graves' voice softened, adjusted a little. Make it to the finals, then we'll talk. The meeting ended. Jada walked out in silence that night. She stayed in the dorm lounge, headphones on, blocking out the world. The semifinal topic had just dropped. Resolved. Social movements driven by digital activism are less effective than traditional grassroots organizing. Perfect. This was her lane. Jada's fingers flew across the keyboard. Case studies, statistics, lived examples. Black Lives Matter, the Arab Spring, hurricane relief. Back home, every word she typed carried fire. Personal, real, not just data but memories. Still, even as she prepared, something in her gut warned this wasn't over. Semifinals arrived. Her opponent, Priya Shah, ranked #2 straight from a private academy in New Jersey. Her debate resume than most college applications. They stood across from each other. Priya offered a smile, but it was hollow, all performance. The debate began. Priya opened with precision, tactical, bulletproof structure. Then Jada took the mic and turned the room. She didn't just argue, she testified. She spoke of seeing online petitions, Beckham, real Policius, right in her own neighborhood, of how digital platforms, voices that had been silenced for generations. Her voice trembled once when she spoke about her uncle lost during the post-Katrina chaos, how online fundraiser where the only reason her family could rebuild silence wrapped the room. Priya looked shaken. Then the decision, the winner advancing to the final round. Jada Monroe. Applause followed, scattered and sure but real. She had done it. From forgotten Namido finalist at Yale. Jada stepped off stage. Professor Graves approached, quiet, serious. Be ready, she said, voice slow. The next round went, just test your skill. And just beyond her, Nathan Ashford leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes cold, because no, it was Jada versus Nathan, and they both knew this wasn't just about a trophy. Final day, colder than any before. Heavy gray clouds hung low as if even the skew what was coming. Santa's auditorium packed, faculty, alumnus, students, reporters in the back, cameras rolling. The Yale Debate Invitational lot never felt this public, but now everyone had heard the underdog from Houston, Yale's chosen son. Jada sat backstage, notebook in hand, heart pounding, breath steady. Years of midnight speech just over her bedroom mirror had built this moment across the room. Nathan paced confident friends, buzzing around him high fives. Whispers Jada caught a few words. Easy win, just bury her in cross-exam. She cracked she's not ready, but she didn't flinch. Professor Graves approached again, quiet as always, but this time something in her eyes had changed. Asterisk, asterisk. You're about to step into a room that wasn't built for you, Professor Graves said, voice low, but make no mistake, you've earned every second off this stage. Jada nodded, once eyes locked on the screen above the stage. Asterisk, asterisk, resolved. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Traditional institutions remain the best guardians of academic integrity. Asterisk, asterisk. The irony made her want to smile. The auditorium dimmed. The moderator stepped forward. Welcome to the final round of the Yale National Invitational. Representing Yale's Honor Division, Nathan Ashford. Representing the Southeast Regional Public Forum, Jada Monroe. Applause erupted, but Jada noticed something. Athens sighed. Much louder. The moderator outlined the format. Opening statements. Cross-exam went first and he went in swinging. He painted elite institutions as the gold standard, guardians of fairness, tradition, knowledge. He cited decades of research, surveys, even quotes from former education officials. His delivery, sharp, persuasive, overflowing with charm. The crowd loved it. Then Jada stepped up, palms tingling but voice steady. Ladies and gentlemen, she began. We're here to Dabatuo gets to decide what counts as academic integrity. She paused, locked eyes with the judges. The crowd, Nathan and I stand here as living proof that sometimes the very institutions we trust are the first to silence voices like mine. A ripple moved through the room. She didn't name names, but she spoke of the sabotage of gatekeeping, of hidden barriers dressed as rules. She brought up history, how schools once excluded women, then people of color, then anyone outside a narrow mold. Integrity, she said, isn't about protecting tradition, it's about evolving beyond the ones that kept people out. Cross-exam followed. Nathan came in hard, questioning, numbers twisting, terms interrupting constantly, but Jada didn't flinch. Every jab met with precision. You're shifting the argument, Mr. Ashford, she said calmly. Let's return to the resolution. The room stirred. Even faculty leaned forward. Then came rebuttals. Jada didn't waste a second. If traditional institutions were flawless guardians of integrity, she said, I wouldn't have had to fight my way through sabotage to stand here today. The words hit hard, hung in the air for the first time all tournament. Nathan cracked his smile, gone his tone, rushed his energy. Defensive, and everyone saw it. Asterisk, asterisk. When the final words were spoken, the room fell silent, not out of confusion but out of weight and applause. Not scattered, not hesitant, full, loud, real. Jada stepped back from the podium. Her breath shook but her eyes didn't. Nathan stared at the floor. Jaw teach refused to look her way near the judges' table. Professor Graves gave her the faintest of nods, but no decision had been announced yet. Both debaters were escorted backs to ghetto wait. Jada sat quietly, gaze on her worn sneakers. One thought repeated in her mind. Asterisk, asterisk, win or lose, I made them listen. Asterisk, asterisk. The bench was cold. Her hands trembled behind the doors. Muffled voices, brief laughter, then more silence. Nathan paced, arms crossed, no swagger, leftist nerves. Jada glanced at him. He didn't meet her eyes. Then the door opened. Professor Graves emerged, expression unreadable. The results will be announced in 5 minutes, she said calmly, motioned them back. In Jada's heart thunder does. She stepped once more into Sanders' auditorium. The crowd was buzzing, phones raised, whispers flying. Nathan's fan section sat front row, matching Yale blue sweaters. Nearly empty. A few out-of-state students she'd befriended. One small camera crew from a local news outlet. The moderator stepped forward on vote. Lapinhan. Jada held her breath. After much deliberation, he began. The judges have reached a decision. He opened the envelopes. Slowly. Brett, the winner of the 2025 Yale National Invitational, beat Jada Monroe. The room froze for a split second. She wondered if she heard it wrong. Then applause, not polite, not forced, trio rising from corners of the room. She never expected. Some students stood, others stared, speechless. Nathan's face drained of color. He didn't wait, didn't fake a smile, didn't say a word, just grabbed his bag and stormed out the side door. Jada stood still, too stunned to move. Professor Graves approached, held out her hand. Jada took it, the fingers still trembling. Well done, Graves said softly. You didn't just win a debate, you pervade. You belong here. Cameras flashed, hands reached out, congratulatory voices filled the air. Her phone buzzed. A message from mom. Asterisk, asterisk, told you, baby, you never needed their permission to shine. Asterisk, asterisk. Jada blinked back, tears, took a long breath and smiled wide and guarded proud. Later that night, she sat alone in the steps outside the hall, crisp air, silent sky piece. Then a shadow approached. Professor Graves. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I thought you'd like to know, Professor Graves said quietly, sitting beside her on the steps. The administration found out 2-0 sent that fake email. Jada's breath caught. Who? Graves' lips curved somewhere between regret and satisfaction. Nathan Ashford. The evidence was clear and unmistakable. Jada's stomach flipped as he facing disciplinary review. Graves finished nothing public, of course. Yale protects its own, but off the record his future in national competitions gone. Jada exhaled slowly. I didn't want it to end like this, she whispered. Graves nodded. I know, but you handled it with more grace than most adults I know. They sat in silence, the lights of the campus flickering in the distance. The battle was over, but the journey just beginning because, for the first time, Yale would remember her name, and for the first time, the girl from Houston wasn't just fighting to be heard, she was here to stay. Weeks later, back on her porch in Houston, Jada sat with a glass of sweet tea watching the sun sink low. Her mom stepped outside holding a crisp envelope stamped with Yale's seal. Jada opened it carefully. Inside, an invitation to Yale's summer pre-law scholars program, full scholarship tucked inside a handwritten note from Professor Graves. **** Can't wait to see how far you'll go. ***. Jada smiled, heartful from being dismissed to being welcomed, from fighting for a voice to standing as proof that voices like hers didn't just deserve space. They change the space, they shift rooms, they challenge systems, they crack ceilings others pretend don't exist. And dear friend, if this story moved you even a little, if you believe that talent, resilience, and heart can't come from anywhere, please give this video a thumbs up, leave us a comment, tell us where you're watching from, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button to help us reach 1,000 subscribers, because with your support, we'll keep sharing true, inspired stories like this one, stories that remind us it's not where you start, it's how loud you rise.